A lot of people are not traveling because they can afford it. They're traveling because the credit card approved it. And that is not financial freedom. That is delayed stress with an ocean view. Now, let me be clear. I love a beautiful resort. I love a good meal. I love a peaceful room, a nice view, and a trip that actually feels like rest. But I do not believe luxury should follow you home as debt. Your credit card limit is not a travel budget. And the goal is not to stop enjoying life. The goal is to stop financially recovering from it. Because adulthood is already expensive enough. Rent is expensive, groceries are expensive, car insurance is expensive, student loans are real. Subscriptions sneak up on you, and somehow one weekend plan can make your paycheck feel like it never even had a chance. So this is not about shame. This is not me telling you to sit in the house and never enjoy anything. This is about building a money system that lets you enjoy your life without constantly cleaning up after it. So today, I'm sharing my financial freedom roadmap, not in a perfect, polished, everything always goes right kind of way. I mean, real life, real bills, real responsibilities, real goals, real trade-offs, and yes, real travel. And I'm gonna walk you through how I budget, how I think about building wealth, and how I plan travel without debt on a regular income. Not unlimited income, not influencer math, not soft life math that quietly turns into minimum payments. A real life plan. If you're new here, I'm Annette Harris. I'm an accredited financial counselor, financial coach, author, wife, mother, and a professional woman who believes money should give you peace, not pressure. And if you want personal finance tips that actually fit real life, you are in the right place. Around here, we talk about building wealth, making wiser money decisions, and creating a life that still leaves room for joy. So let's get into it. First, let's be honest about financial freedom, because sometimes people make financial freedom sound like this huge finish line. Quit your job, retire early, become a millionaire, never look at prices again. And for some people, that may be the goal. But for most of us, financial freedom starts much earlier. It starts when money stops running your emotions every single day. It starts when you can pay your bills without panic. It starts when a flat tire does not ruin your entire month. It starts when an unexpected expense does not automatically become credit card debt. It starts when you can say yes to something that matters without secretly wondering what bill will have to wait. For me, financial freedom has levels. The first level is stability. Can I cover the basics? Can I pay the bills? Can I keep the household running? Can I stop using credit cards to survive normal life? The second level is breathing room. Can I handle small emergencies? Can I save ahead for things I already know are coming? Can I stop feeling like every paycheck disappears the minute it lands? And the third level is progress. Can I pay down debt? Can I invest consistently? Can I increase retirement contributions over time? Can I make decisions that future me will be grateful for? And the fourth level is flexibility. Can I travel? Can I give? Can I rest? Can I take time off? Can I make career decisions from wisdom instead of desperation? That is the roadmap. Stability, breathing room, progress, flexibility. And this is where I think people get caught. They want flexibility before they have stability. They want the trip, they want the hotel, they want the soft life. They want the airport lounge. They want the upgraded experience. And I get it. I love a beautiful experience too. But if the foundation is shaky, the thing that looks like freedom can turn into another bill, another payment, another thing you have to recover from. That is why the plan matters, because luxury feels different when it is funded. Travel feels different when the money is already sitting there. Dinner feels different when it is in the plan. And building wealth feels different when you're not constantly asking future you to clean up after present you. Now, let me tell you why I budget. I do not budget because I hate nice things. I budget because I like nice things. I budget because I care about travel. I care about experiences. I care about family. I care about retirement. I care about giving. I care about options. And I care about not waking up after a beautiful trip, realizing I created a financial mess just to feel relaxed for 4 days. That is why my budget has to hold more than bills. It has to hold my values. And that is where a lot of people miss it. A budget should not only answer, can I pay this bill? It should also answer, is my money helping me build the life I keep saying I want? That question will humble you, because sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. My money is funding convenience, impulse, exhaustion, and habits I did not even realize I had. And no shame here, but once you see it, you can change it. As a financial counselor, I have seen how money stress can affect confidence, relationships, career choices, and how people see themselves. And I believe one of the most powerful things you can do is learn how to tell your money the truth. Not the story you wish was true, not the payday version of the story, not the I'll figure it out later version, the actual truth. What is coming in? What is going out? What is being saved? What is being invested? What keeps repeating? And what needs to change? That is where the roadmap starts. Now that we've talked about the mindset, let me change gears and show you what this actually looks like when money hits the account. Because this is where the budget stops being an idea and starts becoming a real system. Now let's talk about budgeting without making it complicated, because I do not believe you need a 20-tab spreadsheet to get your money together. The goal is not to create a budget that looks impressive. The goal is to create one you will actually use. I start with income. Not gross income, not the number before taxes, insurance, benefits, retirement contributions, and deductions come out. I mean the money that actually hits your account, your real take-home pay. Because a lot of people budget from the salary they tell people they make, but they spend from the paycheck they actually receive. And that gap matters. Then I look at fixed expenses, housing, utilities, insurance, car payments, phone bill, subscriptions, debt minimums, anything that shows up whether you feel like paying it or not. And this category matters because fixed expenses can quietly trap you. Sometimes the problem is not the coffee. Sometimes the problem is the car payment. Sometimes the problem is the house payment. Sometimes the problem is 6 subscriptions, 3 memberships, and automatic charges that no one has looked at since last year. Then I look at variable expenses: food, gas, household items, personal care, dining out, entertainment, gifts, clothing, all the spending that moves around. This is where people usually feel the most out of control. And I understand why. Variable expenses require decisions. And when you're tired, busy, hungry, or overwhelmed, decisions get expensive. That is why I do not use the budget as a shame tool. I use it as a pattern tool. What keeps happening? Where is the leak? Where is the stress? Where is my money going that does not match what I say matters? Then I look at savings, emergency fund, travel fund, car repairs, home maintenance, medical expenses, annual expenses, holiday spending, all the things that are not monthly but are still real. And I need to say this, a lot of emergencies are not really emergencies. They're expenses we did not prepare for. Christmas comes every year. Birthdays come every year. Car insurance renews. School expenses happen. Maintenance happens. But when we do not save ahead, those predictable expenses start feeling like emergencies. And that is how people end up swiping the card for things they technically knew were coming. That is why sinking funds matter. Not because they're exciting, because they work. Then I look at investing and wealth building. Retirement, brokerage accounts, business investments, education, assets, anything that helps build long-term financial strength. And then yes, I include lifestyle because I'm not building a budget that ignores the fact that I'm a human being. I include travel, I include experiences, I include personal enjoyment because when your budget has no room for joy, you'll eventually rebel against it. And that rebellion can get expensive. Now, let me show you this with rounded numbers. And I want to be clear, this is not my exact household budget. This is a simulated version based on a $120,000 income. So you can see the system without me putting my whole household on the internet. If someone makes $120,000 a year, that sounds like $10,000 a month. But after taxes, benefits, retirement, and deductions, let's use a simulated take-home amount of about $7,200. That is the real number the budget has to manage. In this example, $1,000 goes to giving, $1,000 goes to insurance, about $889 goes to utilities, phone, internet, security, streaming, yard care, and small bills. $420 goes to groceries, $250 goes to restaurants, $90 goes to entertainment, $1,250 goes to travel, $125 goes to automotive, $1,095 for home projects and maintenance, $250 goes to events and gifts, about $831 stays available for that buffer, extra savings, or adjustments. Now, here's the point. Travel is not magic. Travel is not the credit card approving it. Travel has a line. And if it does not have a line, it is not a plan yet. It is a wish waiting to become a debt. And your numbers may look different. You may have rent, you may have a mortgage, you may have daycare, you may have student loans, you may have higher transportation costs. You may not have a travel fund yet, and that is fine. The point is not to copy my categories. The point is to see the system. Now, once the budget is clear, the next question is not just, can I pay my bills? The next question is, how do I turn this income into actual options? That is where wealth building comes in. Now let's talk about regular income, because a lot of people are working hard, earning decent money, and still feeling like the math is not mathing. You're told to be responsible, build your career, save for the future, pay down debt, invest, take care of your family. But at the same time, everything costs more. Housing costs more, food costs more, insurance costs more, travel costs more. And social media keeps making expensive lifestyles look completely normal. And that is a lot of pressure. And yes, income matters. I will never pretend income does not matter. Income gives you margin. Income gives you speed. Income gives you more options. But income alone does not create financial freedom. Building wealth on a regular income starts with deciding what your money is allowed to do before the world spends it for you. Because the world will spend it. Convenience will spend it. Burnout will spend it. Comparison will spend it. A sale will spend it. A vacation package will spend it. A random group chat plan will spend it. So you need a plan before your money gets pulled in every direction. That is why I think about wealth building in layers. The first layer is protection, emergency savings, the right insurance, understanding your benefits, basic documents when appropriate, not leaving your whole financial life vulnerable to one surprise. Your emergency fund does not have to be finished overnight, but you do need to start building it. Even a small cushion can keep a small problem from becoming expensive debt. The second layer is debt management. Not all debt is the same, but debt payments reduce your options. Every payment you owe is future income that already has a job. So look at debt and ask, what is the balance? What is the rate? What is the payment? What is the emotional weight? What is the plan? Some people need to attack the highest interest rate first. Some people need to attack the smallest balance first to build momentum. And the method matters, but consistency matters more. The third layer is retirement investing. And I want to say this clearly, you cannot luxury travel your way into retirement. You can enjoy your life, you can take the trip, you can make the memories, but future you still needs money. So retirement cannot always be pushed to later. If you have an employer match and you are eligible, that is part of your compensation. And as your income increases, your contributions need to be reviewed. Because the goal is not just to make more. The goal is to keep more, grow more, and use more intentionally. The fourth layer is long-term wealth expansion. That may be brokerage investing, business building, real estate, education that increases your earning power, or other assets depending on your situation. But do not skip the basics because something sounds exciting. Everybody wants to talk about passive income. Everybody wants to talk about hacks. Everybody wants the fast path. But if cash flow is messy, more complexity will not save you. A messy foundation with more accounts is still messy. Build the foundation first, then expand. The fifth layer is intentional lifestyle. This is where travel comes in. This is where the nice dinner comes in. This is where the resort comes in. This is where rest comes in. This is where joy comes in. But joy should not constantly compete with rent, debt, emergency savings, and retirement. When your lifestyle is funded after your foundation is addressed, it feels different. You're not trying to convince yourself it is fine. You know it is fine because it is in the plan. For me, wealth building is not about trying to look rich. It's about options. Options to travel, options to retire with dignity, options to help family without destroying my own foundation. Options to make career decisions from wisdom instead of desperation. Options to rest, options to say no or yes. And that is what wealth gives you. And that is why I do not want lifestyle to consume every dollar that I earn. Because if every raise, every bonus, every extra dollar, and every opportunity gets absorbed into lifestyle, then I may look like I'm moving forward while financially standing still. And that is not the goal. Now, here's the truth I'm tired of watching play out. People will spend money to look free while feeling trapped on the inside. They will book the trip, buy the outfit, upgrade the experience, post the picture, but behind the scenes, they're stressed. The payment is still sitting there. The savings account is still thin. The emergency fund is still not funded. And they're telling themselves, I deserve this. And maybe you do. Maybe you do deserve rest. Maybe you do deserve beauty. Maybe you do deserve a break. But you also deserve peace after the purchase. You deserve to enjoy the experience without regret attached to it. And that is why the plan matters. Sometimes overspending is not about being irresponsible. Sometimes it is exhaustion. Sometimes it is burnout. Sometimes it is comparison. Sometimes it's trying to prove that all your hard work is finally paying off. And I understand that. But emotional spending still has financial consequences. And if spending becomes the way you recover from exhaustion, the bill will eventually create a new kind of stress. And that is why I want us to build a plan that includes joy before we are desperate for it. Planned joy is healthier than impulsive recovery. Now let's talk about lifestyle creep. Because lifestyle creep does not always look like luxury. Sometimes it looks like food delivery 3 times a week, subscriptions you forgot about, upgraded phone payments, buy now, pay later, concert tickets, weekend trips, Amazon orders, a little more convenience, a better hotel. And none of those things are evil, but if they're quietly taking over your ability to save, invest, or travel without debt, then they need a plan. The way I fight lifestyle creep is by giving extra money an assignment before it disappears. So when income increases, I do not want all of it absorbed into lifestyle. Some can go to lifestyle. I'm not saying you can't enjoy your increase, get your nails done one more time. But some needs to go to savings. Some needs to go to investing. Some needs to go to debt reduction if you have debt. Some needs to go to your future goals. But if every increase becomes a new bill, you will always need more money just to feel okay. And that is a dangerous cycle. One thing that helps me is having a spending filter. For bigger purchases or repeated spending patterns, I ask myself, does this align with my values? Is this in the budget? Am I buying this from peace or pressure? Will I still feel good about this after I pay for it? And what is the opportunity cost? Because every dollar can only do one job at a time. If it goes here, then it cannot go there. That does not mean you should never spend. It means you should spend with awareness. That is how you build a financial life you don't have to keep recovering from. Now, let's bring this back to the part where people really want to know. How do you actually travel, enjoy the experience, and not come home stressed out? Because that is where the travel fund has to do its job. Now let's talk about travel, because I do not think travel has to be reckless. And I do not think budgeting for travel has to mean the trip feels cheap. This is how I think about travel on a budget. Not miserable travel, not uncomfortable travel, not the kind of trip where you're counting every fry on the plate. I mean travel that is planned, paid for, and aligned with your goals. For a lot of people, travel is not just vacation. Sometimes travel feels like escape. Escape from burnout, escape from work pressure, escape from feeling behind, escape from doing everything right and still feeling like the math is tight. And I understand that. But the trip should help you breathe. It should not become another bill you have to recover from later. Because there is nothing luxurious about coming home from vacation and avoiding your credit card app. There is nothing luxurious about a resort bracelet on your wrist and financial anxiety in your stomach. There is nothing luxurious about taking the trip and then spending the next 6 months recovering from it. So when I plan travel, I want the trip to be a part of the plan before I ever pack a bag. If you want to save money on travel, you have to price the full trip, not just the flight, not just the room, the transportation, the food, the tips, the excursions, the outfits, the airport parking, the pet boarding, the little extras that people forget about until they're already spending. Because luxury travel on a regular income is not about pretending cost does not matter. It's about deciding ahead of time what kind of experience matters enough to fund. Sometimes luxury is a beautiful resort. Sometimes luxury is flying at a reasonable time. Sometimes luxury is a room with a view. Sometimes luxury is not cooking for 4 days. Sometimes luxury is peace. Sometimes luxury is safety. And sometimes it's convenience or having the trip paid before you go. And that last one matters because a vacation feels very different when you come home to a bill you cannot comfortably pay. That is not rest. That is delayed stress. Here's my travel fund method. Create a separate travel fund, not one big savings account where emergency money, car repair money, holiday money, and travel money are all sitting together. A real travel fund. Because when all your savings are in one pile, it's easy to lie to yourself. You look at the balance and think you have more available than you actually do. But some of that money may already be needed for something else. So when travel has its own bucket, the decision gets cleaner. Then estimate the full cost: flights, hotel, transportation, baggage fees, resort fees, tips, food, excursions, travel insurance, pet boarding, parking, clothes, hair, nails, whatever you know you're actually going to spend. Because one reason travel budgets fail is that people only budget for the big pieces. Then the smaller expenses sneak in and blow up the final cost. And after that, divide the cost by the number of months until the trip. If the trip is $3,000 and you have 10 months, that is $300 a month. If the trip is $4,800 and you have 12 months, that is $400 a month. And if that number does not work, the trip needs to be adjusted. Maybe you need more time. Maybe you need a lower cost destination. Maybe you need fewer nights. Maybe you need to use points responsibly. Maybe you need to create extra income. The math is not judging you. The math is just telling you what the decision requires. Now, let's talk about the monthly money meeting. And no, this does not have to be dramatic. It can be you, your coffee, your bank app, and 30 quiet minutes. Look at what came in. What's your income? Look at what went out. Look at what surprised you. Look at what debt changed. Look at what savings changed. Look at what investments happened. Look at what is coming next month. And look at what needs attention. This matters even more if your income changes from month to month. And if you have a side hustle, if you freelance, if you're building a business, if you're trying to grow while still managing regular bills, this is even more important because you cannot budget from vibes when your life has moving parts. You need a system that can move with you. This meeting is not for arguing. It is not for shaming. It is not for dragging yourself. It is for leadership. You are the leader of your money, and leaders review information before making decisions. That is all this is, a monthly review. One reason I care so much about this is because financial literacy should not start when someone is already overwhelmed. That is part of why I wrote a children's book about money. Because saving, budgeting, and investing are not just adult problems, they are life skills. And many of us became adults having to learn through trial, error, overdraft fees, credit card interest, and financial stress. So, when I talk about budgeting, I'm not just talking about a spreadsheet. I am talking about a life skill that can change how families make decisions. How to pause before spending, how to prepare before borrowing, how to plan before panicking, how to connect money to values, and how to use money as a tool instead of letting money become a constant source of stress. Now, if you're listening to this and thinking, Annette, that sounds good, but I feel behind, take a breath. Feeling behind does not mean you're hopeless. It means you need a starting point. Start with awareness. Pull the last 30 to 60 days of spending. Do not judge it yet. Just look. Where did the money go? What surprised you? What felt worth it? What did you forget you even bought? What category was bigger than you expected? Then choose one adjustment, not 20, one. Maybe you reduce dining out. Maybe you cancel subscriptions you're not using. Maybe you set up an automatic transfer. Maybe you create a travel fund. Maybe you increase retirement by 1%. Maybe you start tracking spending every Friday. Small changes matter when they are repeated. Now let's walk through a simple travel example. Let's say you want to take a trip next summer. You estimate the full trip will cost you about $4,800. That includes flights, hotel, transportation, food, tips, excursion, travel insurance, and spending money. You have 12 months. That means you need $400 a month. Before you say yes to the trip, ask yourself, can my budget support $400 a month for travel while I still pay my bills, save for emergencies, manage debt, and invest? That is the difference between travel on a budget and travel on a credit card limit. If yes, then great. Set up the travel fund, automate the transfer, track the progress. Book when the numbers make sense. That is how you travel without debt. If no, then you have options. Extend the timeline, reduce the trip costs, travel during a lower cost season, choose fewer nights, pick a beautiful but less expensive destination. Split the goal into a smaller trip now and a bigger trip later. Because sometimes the dream does not need to die. Sometimes it just needs a better funding strategy. Now, let me tell you what I will not do for travel. I will not ignore bills for travel. I will not stop investing for every trip. I will not drain my emergency fund for a vacation. I will not carry high interest credit card debt just to look like I'm living well. I will not book a trip based only on the deposit because I got that money now. I would not confuse looking wealthy with building wealth because looking wealthy and building wealth are not the same thing. Looking wealthy can be financed. Building wealth has to be funded. Before we close, let me give you the mistakes I want you to avoid. Do not budget for an ideal version of yourself. Budget for your real life. Do not ignore irregular expenses. They will show up. Do not treat savings as whatever is left. There is usually nothing left. Do not use credit card rewards as an excuse to overspend. Rewards are only helpful when you're not paying interest. Do not compare your chapter to someone else's highlight reel. You do not know who is in debt. You do not know who is stressed. And do not quit after one bad month. A bad month does not mean the budget failed. It means the budget needs to be reviewed and adjusted. Keep going. So here's my financial freedom roadmap. Know your real income, identify your required expenses, find your leaks, build protection, manage debt, invest for the future, fund your joy, review monthly. That is the roadmap. It is not complicated, but it does require honesty. And honesty with money will change your life if you let it. This is bigger than numbers. When your money is out of order, it affects how you feel. It affects your sleep. It affects your relationships. It affects your confidence. It affects your decisions. It affects how you rest. It affects whether you feel trapped or empowered. And that is why the roadmap matters. Not because a budget will solve every problem, but because a budget gives you a place to start. So, here is the mindset shift. You're not budgeting because you're broke. You are budgeting because you have goals. You're not saving because you're scared. You're saving because you want options. You're not investing because you're trying to impress anyone. You're investing because future you deserves support. You're not planning travel because you're irresponsible. You're planning travel because joy deserves a line item too. And that is the balance. You are not behind because you want to enjoy your life. You're not irresponsible because you want to travel, eat well, dress well, or experience beautiful things. But you do need a system, because without a system, every desire becomes a transaction. Every transaction becomes pressure, and every pressure point pulls money away from your future. The goal is not to live small, the goal is to live clearly. So this month, choose one part of your roadmap. Maybe it's your emergency fund. Maybe it is your travel fund. Maybe it is your debt payoff plan. Maybe it is reviewing your retirement contributions. Maybe it is simply sitting down and telling the truth about where your money has been going. Start there. Not with shame, with leadership. Because financial freedom does not start when you become rich. It starts when you become honest, intentional, and consistent with what you already have. And if this video helped you see budgeting differently, subscribe and join me on the road to 10,000 subscribers. If I reach that goal by year end, I will donate $50 in honor of 5 subscribers to the Folds of Honor Scholarship for military dependents. I'm building a community of people who want to enjoy life, build wealth, travel without debt, and make wiser money decisions without shame. And I want to know in the comments, what are you funding next? Peace, debt freedom, investing, or travel? Because your money needs a roadmap, and your life deserves one too. As always, I'm cheering for your wealth journey.